Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session today. We're going to be talking about some of the ways that you can generate documents from the data that you have in Microsoft Dynamics 365 and the Dataverse. And we're going to see how we can create those templates using Adobe Document Generation API and our connectors into Microsoft Power Automate. So with that, let's get right into it. All right, so before we get into the main topic today, I have a couple of quick updates that I want to make sure that you know about so that we can perhaps maybe see each other on the road. So we have a couple of events that are going to be coming up soon. The first one is going to be Microsoft Build next month. Microsoft Build is Microsoft's developer conference that we're going to be present there. We're going to have some sessions, some Ask the Expert sessions. So I encourage you to go check that out as a way for you to be able to get to know some of the cool things that we're doing along with Microsoft to help create great experiences between our different applications and help create digital document experiences within your Microsoft applications. The next thing that we're also going to be at is we're going to be, if you are in Seattle, come check out the 365 EduCon, where we have a number of different sessions. We're going to be talking about how to create digital document experiences inside of Power Apps, tying that within Power Automate, capturing electronic signatures, as well as even some ways that you can use Creative Cloud within Microsoft 365 applications. Again, it's going to be in person, so if you are in the Seattle area, go check it out. We're also going to have a booth, so come stop by and say hi, and we'd love to see you there. The third update that I also wanted to give today is that we've had some new updates on our website. So for some of you, we've heard that you want to use Adobe PDF Extract API, but you want to understand a little bit about the information that comes out of that. Well, what we've done is we've created a new visualizer on our website so that you can go on there, you can see what type of information comes out from the service before ever having to download an SDK or have to work with any of the code. So you can easily check that out right on the website, and Ray created an article to tell you a little bit more about that over on the Adobe Tech blog. All right, so let's talk about the main topic today. And one of the challenges that I have seen all over the place is the need to take information from data systems like CRMs or ERP systems or databases and merge that into documents. But part of the challenge is having to connect the dots between that data and the templates and the documents. And that's really what we're going to solve today using our connectors within Microsoft Power Automate to take that data from Microsoft Dynamics 365 and push that into our templates. So let's first see a little bit of what we're going to be working with here. Hi, everyone. I think there was a technical issue, so I'm going to just fix that quickly here, and I'll be right back. All right, now you should be able to hear me. have a little bit of a technical snag there. All right, so to recap here, one of the things that we're doing here is we're going to take the information from this record that we have inside of here, and thank you for letting me know about the little bit of the sound issue there. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take the information from here, and we want to generate this document template. And we're going to take this image and we're going to personalize that based on the industry and some of the content that's inside of here, like the contact, the industry here. We're going to merge different fields into there. And also, if you look at some of these different paragraphs in this template, one is specific for a manufacturing industry, one's for financial services, one's for healthcare. So we're going to want to make this a little bit more personal for those specific industries and only show that paragraph when that applies. All right, and then at the end here, we're also going to have a document, a place where we're going to place a signature. So to start off here, what we're going to do is we're going to switch on over to Microsoft Word, where we have our template, and we're going to build our template in here. And to build this template, we're going to use the Adobe Document Generation tagger, which is available within the app source that you can install within Microsoft Word. And to make it easy, we can go in here and we can click on Continue Without JSON Data, because we can create a schema for our own template in here. So I can choose, for example, this contact here. That's going to be a field that we're going to want to have. We're going to want to have account name here. So to do this, I don't have to write any code. I can just go up here and I'm going to say create tag. And this is going to allow me to create a new tag. I can go in here and I'm going to call this a contact first name. I'm going to set the category here because there's different types of categories, basic, tables, lists, images, calculations, conditions. This is just going to be a basic tag. We're going to set it as a string. And I'm going to select create another because we're going to create a few here. So I'm going to say create. Now, the next one that we have here is account name. So I'm going to call this one account name and then say create. We have one for industry. So we're going to set industry, say create. We have account owner. So let's do account owner. And I think, oh, we have one more one that we're going to get into a little bit later, which is going to be our image, which is going to be the cover image. And I'm going to actually change the category here to an images category. I'll talk about that a little bit more. All right, so once I have that, we'll see that we have our different tags inside of here. And this is going to translate into JSON data that we'll be able to use to configure our action inside of Power Automate. So to apply these tags, all I simply need to do is I can select, for example, this contact first name here, and I can just select that, and I can say insert text, and it adds the tag into the document here. For the account name here, same thing. Although if you don't like going and hitting the insert text, you can actually just double click and it will place the tag in there as well. All right, so that's a simple, easy way that you can take your tags and place them in for really basic kind of mail merging type of scenarios. But what about some of these other ones, which are these paragraphs? We only want them to show based on certain criteria. So the way to do this is we can go up to our advanced menu here, and we have a number of different options here, like images, which we'll get to in a sec, tables and lists, if we want to dynamically add tables and lists based on an array of values, our conditional content, which we're about to use, as well as numerical calculations. So if we select conditional content, and we're going to take this first one here, this first paragraph for the manufacturing industry, I can go in here and choose, I want my record, I can set a condition to say the record industry, show this only if industry is equal to manufacturing. Scroll down a little bit here, and I click Insert Condition. And this adds a wrapper around this paragraph, so it's only going to include this paragraph if the, as you can see from this expression, industry is equal to manufacturing. And if it isn't equal to manufacturing, it's not going to include that section. Similarly, we can do this for some of our other paragraphs here. So the financial services one, I can just simply select that again here. We can go and change the value here to financial services, say insert condition. And for our third one here, which is for healthcare, we can just say healthcare and say insert condition. All right. And then we have our account owner, which we're going to go back to our basic thing here and say account owner is right there. Cool. Now, if I scroll down a little bit, we had this area where we wanted to capture a signature, in this case using Adobe Acrobat Sign. So we can actually go up to where it says Adobe Sign. Adobe Sign is the old name for Adobe Acrobat Sign. So we can select that. And if you've used Adobe Acrobat Sign before, this is where you can set which signer that you're assigning this to, which type of field you want to insert into this. And you can do this with any Word document. But what it does is it allows you to place that tag in there so that when the document is passed to Adobe Acrobat Sign, it'll know that that's where a signature block needs to go. Cool. So if I now save this, this is saving this back to SharePoint, but maybe I want to preview this document while I'm actually designing this template. So there's this Generate Document button right here, and if I click on that, it's going to allow me to see a preview of what this what the data looks like. So I can go in and change this to say, for example, the first name here is going to be, say, John. My account name is going to be Company X. Industry is going to be healthcare. And our account owner is going to be Bob. So when I click on Continue, it's taking that template that I have open currently along with that sample data, and it's uploading it to our services. So you can now preview that document. So now if I switch over to my web browser here, we're going to see that we can see a preview of the document with, looks like some of the images are taking a second to load here. We have John, Bob, and notice that the paragraph is only showing the industry paragraph and not the other paragraphs in there. Super helpful there. Okay. So the final part of our template that we want to create here is we want to add an image. We want to add a dynamic image to change the image based on a certain criteria. So you can insert an image placeholder by going up to our advanced. We can go to images. We can choose our image tag and say insert image. And now it creates this little placeholder that if you have either a URL or base64 data in the JSON data, it's going to pass that into this image here. Helpful, but one of the challenges that you have is sometimes when you create these templates, you already have these placeholders in here. How do you change that image? Well, the way that you can do that is if you click on this image here and right-click, and you go to Edit Alt Text, you'll notice that it added a little bit of text in here, which says Location Path Image. So it's saying the location path image is the name of the tag inside the JSON data. So if I copy that, I can go into my other item up here. I can right-click on that, say Edit Alt Text. I already have that in there, but I can paste that into there in order to apply a dynamic image to an image that's already placed in the document. All right, so now we have our template. We have our tags in there. Now let's have a look at how to wire this up on the Microsoft Dynamics and Power Automate side. Okay, so if I go over to Dynamics here, I'm going to go up to the top menu here. I'm going to click on Flow, and I'm going to create a new flow here. Now you can do this from the Power Automate or Power Apps interface. This is a quick, easy way to get started here. And what this is doing is this is making sure that I have all the connections to Dataverse. And I'm going to click on Continue here. And now this is going to create a new flow for us to start with. So there's a couple of things that we're going to want to first do before we use our Generate Document step. The first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get some more information about this record. So I'm going to click on the new step here, and I'm going to search for Dataverse. I'm going to go and search for row ID. We're going to get a row by row ID. We're going to choose our account or our table name. We're going to choose accounts, and it's going to be based on the record. In the way that it works with Dataverse is that it's the name of the type of record. So in this case, it's going to be the unique identifier for account. So we're going to say that. And the reason is because this is an account type. That's the type of entity it is. All right, so now that I have that, that's going to give me some more information there. The next thing that I want to be able to collect is my template, which my template is stored inside of SharePoint. I have this folder inside of here where I have my template here. So if I go back, I'm going to add a new step here. I'm going to search for SharePoint. I'm going to say create, sorry, not create, file content. And there's a couple of different options. You do get file content, which is a specific file, or you can do it by path. In general, I like using by path because it gives me more flexibility. You can do either way. We're going to choose our site address. In this case, this is going to be our sales contracts SharePoint site. And in our file path, we're going to click on this little folder here, and we can navigate to where our template is. So we're going to choose, say, this blank, this proposal blank template here. All right, so then the next thing that we need to do is we want to generate the document. And we can do that by clicking on the new step here. We can search for Adobe. And when we do that, we can see that there's a variety of different connectors available inside of Power Automate. So there's Adobe PDF Services, Adobe Creative Cloud, and Adobe Acrobat Sign here. So if I select Adobe PDF Services, there's a lot of the different actions that are available in here, whether you want to compress a PDF or combine multiple PDFs together, which is really helpful, particularly if maybe you have some addendums that you want to include in your proposal here. But in this case, we're going to go and choose our Generate Document from Word Template. From within here, then there's only a few things that we need to collect. The first thing is we need to collect our template name, which I'm just going to call this file.docx. And we have our merge data. All right, so this is where if we go back to our Word part here, we're going to go click on the Export JSON button, and we can copy this in here. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We can just simply copy that, come back here, and I can paste that into the data here. And this creates my framework for how I want to merge the data into this. So we're going to choose, in this case, for the contact first name, I'm going to remove that. And I can use the dynamic content here to search for, say, all right, we don't have the name of the person, so we need to look that up. So we're going to go up here and we're going to search for a related record. So we're going to go to Dataverse again. All right, I'm going to hold off on that for just a second here. Let's finish up a couple of other parts in this before we get to the contact first name and stuff. Let's get to the account name to make sure that we have our connection, and then we'll get to our contact side. All right, so for our account name, we can search for our account name, place that into the data there. We have our industry. We can choose industry. It's called industry category here. We have our account owner, which again, I'm going to do that in a bit. And we have our image, which we're going to do in a sec. So once we have that, then we have our file content, which we're going to pull from the file content from that previous SharePoint step there. So we can say file content. And I'm going to save. All right. One of the questions that I see in here is some questions about href content types or HTML. So good question. For some of your content that you're pushing into your document, you can pass things like styling information and tagged information, so you can push that from other systems. For example, if you have like a rich text field inside of your Power App, you can have that pushed into there, and it can inherit things like the bold styling and things like that. If you're talking about things like images and stuff, you can also pass from a specific URL and push that data and that image into there just by passing the URL. All right, so once we have that generated document, I'm going to save this into SharePoint. So we're going to say SharePoint. We're going to say create file. I'm going to save this back into my sales contracts, into a folder that I have in here just called generated docs. And I'm going to call this, I'm going to set it based on the account name. And just to give it a unique name, I'm actually going to use a quick little expression here. It's a quick tip called UTC now, which just uses that date and time at that exact moment in time. And I'm going to save that PDF as well as use the output file content that I have from the previous step. Now, one note in here is if I go in here and go to the advanced options, you can also choose whether you want the output to be a PDF document or a Word document. So if you have something that's more work in progress, you can also create a Word doc. So let's give this a try. I'm going to save this here. Let's give it a quick name too. So I'm going to call this create proposal BC2. And if I switch over to my account record here, I'm going to refresh my page. Sometimes that takes a second. While this is loading, another question that came in is, can we trigger this flow from SharePoint if we pass Dynamics count ID? The answer is yes. So some examples that we also have is we've used it from like the trigger of a SharePoint list or a SharePoint document. And then as part of your flow, you can absolutely take that and trigger that to get the information from Dynamics, as long as you know the ID of that document, of that record. Okay, so if I go up to my flow menu here, we then should see, sometimes it takes a second to reload that. A little bit of a nature of Dynamics 365 sometimes. Sometimes it caches some of those flows. But we will then see, hopefully this time, there we go. We have our create proposal PC2. So if we trigger that here, we're going to take that, we're going to run that. And what that's then going to do is let's go back and see if our flow ran correctly here. So we can see that it's running. All right, it's successful. So if I go into my generated docs, we'll see now we have our generated proposal inside of here. And that looks beautiful. Actually, wait a minute. Let's double check that for a second. Ah, yes. Don't make sure you're not using one of the old ones that you did as part of your test. Okay, so here we can see that the values that came from our data in our flow came in correctly, and it only included the healthcare one because this is categorized as healthcare. Cool, so that's working there. Now let's add a little bit more complication. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is let's change that image dynamically. So inside of SharePoint here, I can go to my documents, and I have this folder called covers that has different covers based on different industries. So I have my finance one, I have my healthcare one. So we want it to change based on that criteria. And we already tagged that document with the image tag in our data. So now all we need to do is just hook up to get that file in there. All right, so if we go and now edit our file, our flow, we're going to go in here and we're going to first request the file from SharePoint, and we're going to push that and get the file content. So let's go in here and say we're going to create a new action. We're going to get file content using path, using SharePoint. We're going to then go in here and choose our sales contracts. We're going to type in here our shared documents. We're going to choose covers because that's the folder that it's in. And then I dynamically want to determine which we're coming from. So the industry category is the name of the file, .svg, because it's an SVG file. So then the next thing that we're going to want to do is, and this is a little bit of a trick here. So in the image, the image data here, we were going to want to change a little bit of this. This is how base 64 gets passed into there. We're going to want to change the MIME type here. So our MIME type is data image, and in this case it is SVG plus XML. And if you go online, there's all the different MIME types that you can use there. And for the base 64, this is what this represents. It represents the image in text format here. And so what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take that. We're going to want to remove that. And we're going to need to create an expression because we have to take the output there and make sure it comes in base 64 format. So we can go into expression here. We can search for base 64. And if I open up my parentheses, I can just go in here and I can choose the file content from my action here. So choose that, say OK, and it inserts that in there, and it should take care of that. So let's give that a try, see if that works for us. So if we go into our account here, we can go and say create a new flow. We're going to run this flow one more time. And what we should see then is that image on the first page should then change based on that value. So let's go back into SharePoint here. Let's go to our generated docs. Let's refresh. All right. We have the one from a few seconds ago. Open this up. Boom. Now it's changed that and in there. So if I also go to, say, a different record, or I change this to the value to this instead to be, say, what did we have in here? We had, I think it was financial services was the other cover we had. Let's just double check. Finance. Okay, we'll change that there. So we have finance as our industry. And if I then go in and take that and run that one more time, we'll see that it's going to then change that image on the front based on that criteria. So it's going to pull the other image and change the cover. So let's go in here. We'll go to our generated docs. Open this up. And that wasn't exactly what I wanted to see. Let's try that one more time here. Let's go back into our folder. Let's go to our generated docs. Well, actually, I think we did see a difference there. That's... Oh, you know what? User error. I didn't hit the save button. So let's hit the save button one more time and run this, and then we then should see that change. Okay, so while that's also happening, the other thing that also comes up is wanting to get the related information from the contact. So the way that we can do that, and let's just finish this up. Let's make sure this is going to work correctly, which it will. It will. There we go. Change the front cover. Now the background is changed to the new one. Awesome, cool. So let's go to the final part, which is we want some of this information, which is the contact information from in this case Jim here. So what we need to do is we need to look up the related record in here. So we can do that by we can say get a row by ID. We're going to use that from Dataverse one more time. We're going to choose our table name, which is going to be our contact record. We're going to choose our row ID based on the there's the primary contact. We're going to choose that. And when we do that, we can then go in here to our data, and we can change this to that now find things like the first name coming from the contact here. So first name, and we'll have to do the same for the account owner. So we can do one more get a row by ID. We're going to do this another contact lookup. And we're going to do it based on the owner. So let's search for owner and owner value. And that's because this is a related record for the owner and a related record for the primary contact. Okay, so then if we go finally add our data for our owner, we're going to just change this to the display name. Or let's do first name, last name. So we're going to do first name. Oh, sometimes Flow can be, your Power Automate can be a little bit tricky because it'll change where your cursor is. We can then go in here, say last name, and we're good. We say save. Now let's run it one more time. Run that flow. And let's just check to make sure that it's going to run. Oh, it failed. What happened? Bet it's because of the lookup. Is it because of the lookup? The contact with ID of that doesn't exist. All right, I made a mistake. Actually, I don't think there's an owner set for that account. So I'm going to remove that for a moment here because it looks like I goofed up on that one. So let's go ahead and let's just fix code this to Alex Wilbur. And I'm going to cheat here, and I'm going to use the test button up here in the top right corner to trigger it based on the flow that was just ran before. Make sure this is going to work. All right, got the information, getting the file content, getting the image, generating the document, creating the file, and now if we go into here, we will then see once again our generated document. There we go. All right, so we see the image has been placed into there. We see the personalized information in each of those. It only includes the financial services section there. It has Alex Wilbur that's been placed dynamically into that part of the template, and we're good. Now, the thing that I could then do after this is I can really take this generated document, instead of just creating that file inside of SharePoint, I could do a number of other things. Like maybe I want to route that for approval inside of Microsoft Teams approvals, get a person to review that, make any changes. And once that happens, I can use things like the Adobe Sign action or Adobe Acrobat Sign to be able to then send that agreement for signature, especially if it's a proposal that requires a signature and all that type of thing. So that's just a quick view of how you can use our Adobe PDF Services connector with Microsoft 365 to be able to connect the data. You can merge it from multiple different records and bring that into there. You can dynamically change images. I didn't touch on things like tables and lists, but you can do that as well. So if you are interested in this, do also go ahead and check out, you can get a free trial of our Adobe PDF Services by going over to our website. On here, you can then go and go up to the Get Credentials, or if you are actually on, let's switch back here. If you are, for the first time, opening this up inside of Power Automate, you can also go to this link that is right inside of here, create your credentials, and it's just a few steps to do that, and you can just copy and paste then your client ID and organization ID right inside of there. Also, if you're looking for inspiration, also go on over to the Adobe Tech blog, where we have a number of different articles. We've touched on things like tying this in with Canvas-based Power Apps. We've touched on being able to create a number of other different flows within there. So with that, I want to say thank you for coming to the session today. I hope this was a helpful way for you to be able to see some of the ways that you can tie in your data from the Microsoft Dataverse, Dynamics 365, and so forth, and be able to create your dynamically generated documents. We'll see you next month. As always, it's always on the last Wednesday of the month, so look forward to seeing you then. Thank you. And also remember to subscribe to Adobe Document Cloud on LinkedIn or to Adobe developers on YouTube. Thank you and have a wonderful day.